Hello class. Today we're going to get started on making your shoe. You're going to have your shoe as a model, which you can see mine here, which is here for you. And then what you're going to do is you're going to make as best you can, and I gave you some paper to make a paper model. It doesn't have to be perfect because in reality, clay moves a lot easier than paper. This I have to cut up a lot more. I don't want to do that. I want to keep a good hard template to kind of build off and make my shoe. So it's kind of how we're going to start today. So the first thing we're going to do is make the paper template. And then after that, you're going to start beginning to make your shoe. Rolling on a slab of clay using your rolling pin and sticks. Remember, you need the 1/4 inch sticks. Flatten out some clay and cut out using these pieces as your template. So you can begin to assemble your shoe. So let's get started. So today we're talking about making our shoes, how the whole process is going to work. So we have here our shoe that I'm going to be modeling. Here's my really bad paper construction. It is okay because in all reality, it doesn't really matter. As long as I have a rough idea, it helps me get the basic shoe shape. Clay's a lot more malleable than the paper, so let's go ahead and take this apart. I use the tape to kind of hold it together. You can see roughly what my shoe looks like. So I have my basic template of my shoe right here before me. What we're going to do now is we're going to have to get some clay out and begin to make roll out the slab so we can see kind of what we're making and all that stuff as well. So we have that kind of rough idea. Get the slab out. So you're going to use the rolling pins and your sticks. Make sure they're 1/4 inch thick. I probably have to roll out a couple slabs because it's going to take me a lot of clay to get this going. So I'm going to go through this process and see how it works. And then yeah, I'll probably do a little voiceover on it and speed up a little bit too so you can see it. Right? So here we go.
Shut up and sit down. Shut up and sit down.
As you can see here, I'm taking all my pieces. I let them sit for a day or a little couple hours to get them kind of going. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to score and slip all the edges. I'm going to score them first. And then I make sure they kind of fit the shape. And then I'm going to apply the slip. The slip you're going to be using at home, of course, is going to be vinegar. So basically I go through building my shoe, constructing it the way it should be, getting all the pieces assembled and put together. I highly recommend, again, you let them sit for a day or so and then begin to assemble your shoe. One thing I'm also doing here is I'm adding some small, tiny little coils inside the seams to help reinforce it so they don't fall apart. So it'll help kind of brace your piece a little bit, so it gives it a little more support so it doesn't fall apart as well. You can get away with this also by cutting your two pieces at an angle, so you don't have to do this. I just do this because it makes it a little bit stronger and a little more durable. I just keep working along, getting my shoe put together. One final note to remember is you want to make sure every seam is really well blended together. As you can see here, I'm using a wooden stick, kind of blend my seams together and get the basic shape of what I want the piece to be. Once I get my shoe and all the pieces put together, I'm then going to rewrap it up, let it sit for a while so the clay will firm up before I begin to paddle, begin to shape it, maneuver it to what I need it to be. You cannot do this all in one day. It does take some steps and some time. Now that the shoes sit for a while, now I'm going to do a little more finalizing shaping of the piece. I'm using a paddle, going to flatten out that front part, round out the shoe, make it so it doesn't look so flat. Now I'm also measuring where I'm going to cut out the part where I can put the tongue in later. This gives like the inside dimensions for the shoe. So now I'm trying to cut that part out. I'm going to go back in, smooth out the parts, paddle and shape it, try to push it down a little bit, get more of that shape of the shoe. That's the important part there. Then I'm going to go back, add some coils, kind of lengthen up the top part of it, to kind of blend it together, to kind of get that place for that tongue to fit underneath it when I add it. I'm getting to the point where I can only work so much on the piece where I have to let it sit. But really I'm looking at the basic shape of the shoe. I'm not worried about all the extra parts added onto it, just worrying about the shape. Work on this for a while till it's time to wrap it up.
Last thing we're talking about today is, because you're not really with me and might help out if I have this for you, is how to wrap up your projects. Remember the extra board we talked about? You're going to place on the extra board.
What you also want to do is you want to make sure there's a place for you to have your piece stored as well so it doesn't dry out. So you can put this in a damp box like this. You can take a bag. Sometimes with the damp box, if it's damp enough in there, you can put this on top of it, close it up tight, and it'll sew pretty well. If it doesn't quite fit, you can put it inside of a bag, something like that to wrap it up in. I gotta keep it in there. What I usually do when I'm storing in class, or if I need storage for a little bit, I'll take the whole entire thing, place in the bag, spray a little water on it. I'll do that in front of my bag. So you need a big garbage bag, this helps with this. Take your water, spray some water on it, and wrap it up. If you're putting it in your damp bag, you don't need a damp box. And if you have like a wet towel to keep in the bottom of it, kind of keep it wet, you don't really have to worry about that as much. I'm just gonna wrap up my piece, and it's ready to go, ready for me to keep until tomorrow. And then put it inside your box. Make sure that if you have the towel, if you have the towel on the bottom of it, you don't have to really wrap it up super tight. Just close it up. The dampness from the towel helps keep it wet and moist. All right, guys, that's how you kind of wrap up your project.